Welcome back to another exciting episode of Flawless Plan Garage, where once again today we're going to be working on the Frankentruck, my attempt to take two leftover trucks and a giant pile of parts I had from another project and make one good truck out of them. Now, if you haven't heard, I've got a new merch store. It's called Amazon, where I got this hoodie for $7.50, and then some custom logo work here. A lot of painstaking effort went into. Be sure to check it out. But now, what we're doing is we're going to attempt to figure out the rest of the differences between the gas parts and the diesel parts, put them together so we can end up with an 8.1 liter crew cab 4x4 Chevy pickup. And we're going to try to get the trans lines, the cooling system, the bodywork, the bumper, the fuel system, all put together and kind of roughly buttoned up into the shape of a truck. Let's do it right now. Yeah, it might be time for new spark plugs. Note to both of you who are contemplating a diesel to gas swap. The trans cooler lines are different for the Allison, where it comes into the bottom of the radiator. This top line, which comes from the cooler, seems to be the same. That stuff all swapped over just fine. But this line is from the diesel, and it's obviously set up for a slightly different radiator inlet hose or outlet hose, whichever one this is, location or shape. Cannot make it fit on either side of the rad hose, and sure enough, the gas line or the trans cooler line from the gas engine is shaped differently. You can see it's got like a 90 at the end versus this one, which is more of like a 45 or something. Very different shape. So hope the rest of it's the same. I get to take another bath in trans fluid. This will be fun. Swap line. There we go. Much better. Clips in nicely now. All fits properly in OEM as you would expect. Remember when I said this line was the same? Well, technically that one is, but the other one that goes from the cooler back to the transmission, yeah, no, that's not the same. That one has to change too. Slightly different shape underneath. So in order for the two lines to cohabitate down in there as they go back to the Allison trans, they do need to be as a set because they are different between the diesel and the gas, of course. One more thing that doesn't fit when you have non-OE parts. So this bumper, which is quite large, not as heavy as it would look. Maybe if somebody knows, they can tell me if this is made somewhere. It looks homemade to me. But it's very stout, and it has that front receiver hitch on the front equipment hookup, which could kind of come in handy, maybe. So I decided to keep it and reuse it rather than try to put the stock front bumper back on, partly because they had already changed and like welded on some different mounts onto the frame rails to handle this bumper, cutting off the original factory items. So pretty much committed using this bumper, but as you can tell, the turn signals don't actually fit. This thing had kind of a hacked up grill and turn signals on it, and now I think I understand why, because the original turn signals didn't fit the way this thing was set up. And I think especially where they don't fit is right in here. There's room for the turn signal to sit kind of behind the unit once it slides down in there on this part, but over here this is not going to fit. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just clearance this thing a bit by just kind of cutting away the top lip of the bumper, something like that, to make room for the turn signal to go underneath. Alright, as first cuts go, it's not terrible. Needs a little more clearance through here. Alright, overall, glad I did it. Would rather not have a broken out, hacked up grille and lights. Would rather have a broken out, hacked up bumper. I'm happy with it. This will get a coat of paint at some point, just to spruce it up a bit, but, you know, good enough for now. The other part that I need to figure out on this truck is that the bits of the fuel system that remain. So we're using the diesel fuel tank converted to a gas application, but the fuel lines were the one thing I did not have on hand as a leftover part from one of these two trucks, because the diesel fuel lines are obviously not workable. They're the wrong size and there's the wrong number of them for the gas truck. And the gasoline fuel lines that I had from my extended cab long box truck are the wrong size. They're too long to fit in this application, plus they're getting pretty rusty. Thankfully, Dorman makes a really nice reproduction. They're all stainless, so I bought one of those. It was one of the few kind of expensive, it was 300 and something bucks, I think, parts that I needed new to get this whole crazy contraption put together. Okay, more things not to overlook in the fuel system on the gas to diesel conversion. The vent tube, the diesel tank really was not vented at all. It was just capped. So this one, gasoline conversion now, vented, and will be connected to the vent system on the truck. Also your fill tube, don't forget gas is different than diesel. This is from the gas truck. Also this one was kind of rusty, so I scuffed it up a bit, painted it to slow it down a bit. And of course the ground strap, which should have been here, was broken. So just a quick fix on the ground strap, cleaned up. That is bare metal under there, so that we can get the fill neck properly grounded. Now this should be ready to go in. All right, I have to say, I was really happy with this Dorman kit. These fuel lines are all stainless, and they are just like a work of art, man. Just really happy with the quality and setup of that kit. However, this is the one joint where there are flex lines to connect the lines that are attached to the frame to the place where they are attached to the transmission. Then they run up and over the transmission. And unfortunately, I allowed one of them to kink while I was installing it. So with lines like this, little braided lines that have a Teflon insert, if you let it kink, seems to be you're pretty much done. And it leaked immediately when I pressured up the system. So yesterday I had a custom line made for this middle one here. This one here. I had a new one made custom by a local hose shop that hopefully is going to fit. I'm going to finish trying to get that one installed. It's a tight fit and obviously a tight radius bend on those hoses, which makes it a challenge. But I'll see if I can get that on. Then I'll put the vent one back on. It's hard to reach. This is the vent line up here, and it's hard to reach the supply line when the vent line's installed. So I'll do the supply line first, then put the vent line back on, and then we'll try pressurizing the gasoline fuel system once again. Here's one for you. Are you trying to siphon the last bit of fuel out of that tank, but you just can't get the hose to reach the fuel because it's got this bend in it that just won't come out because you have old crappy hoses for your siphon pump? Well, here's a new redneck use of zip ties for you. Grab the nearest thing that's hard and straight and available and that you're willing to wrap zip ties around. Zip tie your hose down to her. There you go. All right, that's it for today. I'm excited about the progress though, partly because it's actually starting to look more like a truck. Or as Peter Egan observed in one of his great columns on the 12 stages of the car project, I've discovered that the most efficient way to store car parts is in the shape of a car. And it's always nice when you get to that stage. Thanks for watching. See you again.